Good evening. Welcome to another edition of African Americans Ain't Africans, the think show that proves without a shadow of a doubt that the so called African American didn't find their way to America in the trunk of a ship. I'm your host, the Indigenous1, and tonight we'll be having a conversation, and this is a conversation that everybody should pick up on. Everybody should recognize some of the passages that we're going to go through. And you can learn this is a good way to look for your folks, what your people did, where they lived, how they did things. Because what is taught most about African Americans, Negro, colored, and everybody else is it's coming from somebody else's mind. It is coming from somebody else's mouths. They write about you. But what do you say about yourself? And far too many times, when you ask the Negro about himself, all you get is, I don't know. So, what you about to pick up tonight, check this out. You're not what other people say you are. You're not what other people call you. You're not what other people say that they call you anything. And then the embarrassing part about it, you start calling yourself what they call you. Tonight, you're going to learn it ain't like that. But if you want to keep doing it, keep on. You did this your life. Joining me as always. See, brother, you got to keep them intelligent women. Intelligent women make sure their sons and grandsons and all the men around them don't do no dumb shit. Keep those type of females around. If it's your mama, keep her around. Because these women are very valuable to us, just like we are valuable to them. So without any further ado, we're going to get into the first court recorded story of slave story, how slaves were suing and all that. Lisa, you have the floor. Unmute your mic.
Asayo, Kayuk, hello. Alito, how you doing there?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
I'm doing well, and I'm kind of excited. There's so much information. I really don't know. It's kind of overwhelming, but we're just gonna just muscle on through it. I've been digging through my books, and I try to keep things a little like some kind of like data, like running data, like where I have things, but it's hard to keep up with what books are what. And I have several copies of, different versions, different times of court records. So we're gonna do this, and I'm gonna use some internet sites as well, so you can also access yourself to this information. Okay. And the thing about it is that by looking through the court records, we can have insight that the history books aren't going to give you, and some of our sound bites aren't going to actually give you. Some things they're not going to ever reveal, and you might not ever run across just in your research of these books, these historical books, but especially books compiled by people who are just reading other folks' books. So let's go ahead and talk about this. So first of all, I want to talk about something. Is anybody in the chat are people familiar with the Great Fire of 1666? Had you heard of that? Carrie, you heard of that Great Fire in Britain of 1666?
I've never heard of that.
Okay. So this is a thing we need to be like that we have to do. in our research and understanding of things, we have to kind of look at what else is going on in the world. If we are being colonized, as they say, who's colonizing us and what is going on in the world? Now, I could tell you something, like even with me fighting with these, with the colonizers today, and these anthropologists and folk, I have to study what's going on in the world, because they'll tell you anything, as y'all well know. Y'all will tell me that any day. Yeah, 1666. Yeah, it's called the devil year or whatever. It's like, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, but the thing about it is they'll tell you anything, as y'all well know it. They will tell us anything. So that's why we have to be armed with a little, collateral information, because I'll give you an example of that maybe later on the show, what I'm kind of dealing with, something I need to deal with coming up. I was looking at today, because related to the actual history of the time, you can fight people based upon what you know and what they think you don't know. Okay, so the fire. Okay, let's look at so in 1666, 1666, crazy as it seems, that is when they had this major fire, and actually all of London practically burned down. But you don't really hear about that. But think about the implications of that happening in 1666, right? This is when they're supposed to be building all this stuff. And it also, let me tell you, it also reveals other things that we are mistold.
And the end of the world was nigh. His message was simple: repent or burn. Fire had a symbolic hold on the 17th century imagination. It was not only dreaded on an everyday basis, but it was also seen as the principal mechanism for the end of all things, as if one spark could set off a chain of disaster, bringing hellfire down on Earth itself.
King Charles II was so concerned that he wrote to the Lord Mayor, warning of the ease with which a conflagration could take hold. He gave royal authority to imprison all those who flouted building regulations and reiterated the need to be watchful. Houses should be equipped with buckets and ladders, and churches should act as rallying points. But although everyone seemed to know that disaster was imminent, no one could foretell exactly when, how, or why an ordinary, everyday fire would turn into a conflagration. On Saturday the 1st of September 1666, the King's baker, Thomas Fariner, was preparing for the Sabbath. His bakery lay in Pudding Lane, a narrow alley famed for its sellers of sweetmeats, pastries, and of course, puddings.
Pudding Lane was a fast food area, really. There were probably cookhouses, as well as bakers and other food purveyors. And very busy at all times of day, particularly at midday when people wanted something to eat. There'd be cook shops, which were like open kitchens where you could buy a pie or a piece of roast pork very, very cheaply and wander off down the street eating it. And people would be roasting on spits. I mean, you're not talking about one little spit with the joint on it. You're talking about 4 or 5 spits with 2 or 3 little boys turning them, each spit with about 6 joints on it. So you might have, 15 joints in front of a fire. So what you have is an enormous fire, and sometimes going up canopies that were made of wattle and daub. Sometimes the actual chimneys were not made of brick at all. They were hood fireplaces made of wood covered with mud. And sometimes they went up in flames. It's a dangerous place, Pudding Lane.
On the night of September the 1st, Thomas Fariner retired to bed, as a contemporary fire account observed, leaving his providence with his slippers. It was the last night of old London. The fire started between 1 and 2 in the morning. It was first noticed by a journeyman sleeping above the ovens, who awoke to find his bedroom filling with smoke. Once it took hold, any Londoner knew that the first thing to do would be to evacuate the building as quickly as possible. But by the time the alarm had been raised in the rest of the house, the foreigners found the stairs impassable. They fled up to the roof space. Here, their maid was too frightened to jump down onto the cobbles below, and became the first victim of the fire.
It's disorientating. A building you may have lived in all your life will become unrecognizable in the smoke. You cannot see. Your eyes are streaming. There'll be pain in your eyes, choking. You will not even remember the way to the door or even the window of the room you were in extreme cases. It's extremely frightening and extremely dangerous.
By 3 a.m., the fire was visible in the street outside. One of the best accounts can be found in the diary of Samuel Pepys, Clerk of the Acts to the Navy Board. At 3 a.m., he was woken by his maid.
Lord's Day. Some of our maids sitting up late last night to get things ready against our feast today. Jane called us up about 3 in the morning to tell us of a great fire they saw in the city. So I rose and slipped on my nightgown and went to her window and thought it to be on the back side of Mark Lane. But being unused to such fires as followed, I thought it far enough off, and so went to bed again and to sleep.
This was apparently just another fire. When the Lord Mayor of London, Sir Thomas Bloodworth, visited the scene, he remarked that a woman could piss it out. But the heat in the room was now far greater than the flames suggested.
Crucial role, really,
In St. Paul,
Hour near the oven, which was still warm, to get it nice.
It made me weep to see it.
it's clear from our tests that a number of factors were involved. Hot embers in a tinder-dry room filled with flour and other highly flammable materials.
This fire displaced like 70,000 people. Almost all of London was burnt down, and it was devastating. It was financially devastating. It started from the baker's oven. So, but they also were disregarding it like, folks do. They just was like, oh, it ain't nothing. But they really didn't do anything to stop it. Normally they would like knock down buildings next to it to stop, to kind of like create a barrier of like, stuff to kind of stop it from continuing to burn. Now, let's understand this. We also have like in our minds, I think a lot of us in our imagination get very like, oh, long houses, blah, blah, compared to what we think of Europe. You got to understand their houses were made of hay and sticks and wood. That's why everything burned down so easy. It wasn't like they had all these brick buildings. Understand that, okay? They didn't have it like that. This fire is what catapulted them into rebuilding with bricks. But before 1666, it was all straw, and wood. They had thatched roofs. They had thatched, buildings. It was mostly hay and wood. Okay? Let's be clear. So understand that. And then, okay, you're over here on the, you got a colony over here in America where, and you don't have any money. You're putting out all this money. Plus, they're at war. They're having wars with France and the Dutch, and they got trade embargoes, all kinds of stuff's going on, right? They are not doing well. They killing kings, and then, letting the son be, the king, and then, just doing all kinds of stuff, But anyway, so with all this stuff happening, you could see how it corresponds to what ends up, how we're treated over here, how they act over here. Because initially, they didn't want no Indians being slaves. Because I'm going to show you that real quick. Let's see if I can get you to that. Because this situation, and along with the other situations, they didn't have money to begin with. They were warring with each other so much in Europe. Everybody was broke anyway. Okay, so you have to realize that, hey, we got to kind of put in perspective what was really going on, how they were living. Okay, and they weren't living well at all. It was problematic. Okay, so with this situation, the Great Fire, people were living in like nothing. They were living in the streets outside of London. They were homeless. People didn't have anywhere to go. They had nowhere. They couldn't even afford to get in a like a little boat to get away, like just to go upriver or go, they couldn't even do that. It was that bad. It was horrible. Okay. So here we go. We're going to look at, what was it going to do? It's going to show you Hennings. Yeah. Okay. All right. So here we have Hennings. I don't want that though. Let me show you that one. No, that's fine. Oh. Okay. So let me see if I'm showing you the right one now. All right. I'm not. Okay, but I can fix it.
While she's bringing that up, I just want to remind everybody, head on over to aaana.com. Check us out over there. We have books for sale. If you want to help find your family, find what rivers they're near, find out everything, just, some simple questions. You want to find out some simple everyday things that you might see in your personality that might connect to some lands here in America. Those are your folks. Find your folks, because they damn sure looking for you. Okay, ready, Lisa?
Just a second. Let me just get this tab, and we'll be good. Okay, got it. Okay, so when we look at, and I think you guys can see it now. We're just on the Internet Archive. If you just put in Indian, okay, it's going to bring you a wealth of stuff. So those people who don't like using the information Indian, the name Indian, you're not going to find anything. But maybe those people aren't looking for anything, I guess. Okay, so when you look at the statutes, you're going to look at Indian. First thing that comes up, it says, hey, thus in the year 1679, it's been fixed as on a period when Indian prisoners taken in war should be free to purchase to the soldier taking them. Now, this is 1679. But if you roll back in time a little bit earlier to 1668, they were saying don't imprison the Indians. Because why? Well, because they were having financial issues and they really felt like they needed to, kind of do everything they could to work with the Indians. That's what their thinking was. And in different periods of times, different things are happening, right? Now, after they started making money off of us, when they get to the 1700s and the later 1600s, they started to welcome it, because what we were doing, according to this passage here, thus in the year 1679, there has been fixed as on the period when the Indian prisoners taken in war should be free purchase to the soldier taking them, or in other words, might lawfully be made slaves. So they also said things. Let's see the other stuff that they said. Let's go. They also made statements about the prisoners being the Indians being at wartime declared. So see, when we were declaring war on each other, and we were offering up each other as slaves, okay? Not only were we being enslaved by the British, the Dutch, whoever we were fighting with in our particular area, and the Spanish, not only were we fighting with them, but we were fighting with each other, which might be why there's so much dissension and back and forthness amongst us today, because we were selling each other into slavery. And that part we need to be mindful of. And at a certain point after, this war, this fire, and all the wars they were going on with in Europe, they were like, bring on the money. However it's coming, we're going to get it. At first they tried to be polite and, not really enslave us. And they actually write it in the law and orders and stuff. But then it becomes like, just kind of a free-for-all. And then you'll see that in the laws, they'll kind of back off from it and try to hold some restraint. Let's go and kind of roll with this. Okay.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Where are the Hebrew Israelites at this time? No, I'm serious, because a lot of times, this is what I mean. We get caught up in other people's stories, other people's ideas, and we take these ideas and we affix them to ourselves, and we'll die with them.
Yeah.
So, to put this all in context, where are all these groups that we're in now, that we support now, that we say we are now, that we name our children now? Where were these people back then?
Well, that is a good question. They didn't, and that's the thing. We do get fixated with these titles. And it's like it's like the brother we talked about the other day. His father got so into the Pan-Africanism that he named all his kids African first and last name, changed his name completely, changed his entire family lineage, their name completely, and then has the audacity to put in his bio, his wiki, that he's Cherokee. What?
Yeah.
You got you disregarded everything your ancestors gave you that connect you to your bloodline, that connect you to the land, that connects you to your ancestors. And you're going to write in your Wikipedia that you're Cherokee. You're going to mention your grandmama and your Wikipedia, but you've just disrespected and disregarded them. And your entire life and your progeny are an example of when you let these sociopathic groups take hold of you and take over not only your life, but your future your future generations.
So would you say that, when you say, well, some of us sold each other out to that's why there's a lot of animosity between us? Do you think some of those actions are some of the same way could be taken, like we sold out or whatever?
Yeah, I think that is a part of why we behave the way we do, and why there is some animosity. And see, people want to people want to, and people, and I, some people are intuitive, a lot of us are, but some of us aren't. And those are the ones that are mostly probably, I would say, colonizers. But most of us indigenous people are highly intuitive. And we know when somebody's just not right. You know what I mean? And they're not coming with that right energy, or what, something is off, man. And so these people that are not of the right spirit, they don't have the right soul energy, that's a problem. It's probably ancient. It's ancient. It's history. It's blood battle, that you can feel. You can sense it. They're not right. They mean you no good. And it's from something distant and long standing. These people, and a lot of these people, they were faking and frauding and lying then, and they're faking and frauding and lying now. Same thing. They're doing the same thing that their ancestors are. Because what the white man wants to say is that, oh, it's not me. I had nothing to do with what. No, we are literally our ancestors. We're literally them. So we really cannot divorce ourselves from what they did. You can't. It's in you. And then the crazy thing about colonizers is they go ahead and they uphold what their ancestors stole with additional lies, with new fake fraudulent evidence. They support it with their own modern day lies. And yet they try to act like their hands are clean. Their hands are just as bloody as the initial people. Because for you to support and reinforce a historical lie rather than dismantle it and rectify it, you are worse than the original perpetrators. You're worse. You're worse. Plain and simple. So, with that being the case, when you look at that, it is enacted that no Negro or Indian, though baptized, free Negroes, and enjoy their own freedom, shall be capable of enslaving Indians, not such purchase of Christians. See, you could own an Indian, but you couldn't own a Christian. Okay? They started to change the game. Because more Europeans were coming in, and we were moguls. We were wheeling dealing. If there was a way to make money, if there was a way to get things done, to trade, come up, we were doing it. We were in the front because we were doing it before they came here. And the only reason we let them come was because we wanted to trade. We wanted to come. We wanted to have an increase. We wanted to do that. So you got to understand your part in the history too. We have a part in that. It was our greed played a role. You know what I mean? Our greed played a role. And so we have to kind of take a hard, real look at it. Let's look at this. Okay. So they had to devise how long an Indian should have to serve, right? If they're gonna be slaves, they actually have a law where they actually talked about how long are you going to be a slave? Like that, just that simple. How long are you going to be a slave is what they looked at. And so, I mean, like everything that we, kind of can guess about is already, worked out. They've already gone through it. So, the information is there. It's just not, being dispelled, just kind of spelled out for us, so that we can understand. It's hidden, but it's hidden in plain sight. It's hidden in the laws and the statutes and all that good stuff. So when we do look at the different statutes, we're going to go into the mail and I'm going to just share this little thing with you. Okay. All right. So here we have, it's, let me see if I make sure you can see it. Yeah. So if now that it's open, you can gotta see the image. I guess you can't really read it, but I will really read it for you. And what it says is, what time Indians to serve? Whereas some dispute has risen whether in Indians taken in war by other nations, and by that nation that taketh them, sold them to the English, are servants for life or term of years. It is resolved and enacted that all servants, not being Christians, imported into this colony by shipping, shall be slaves for their lives. Y'all get that? So that if the Lenape captured the Accomack and put them on a boat and rowed them back over to the coast where they came from, you would be shipped as a slave for life. We could be slaves for life. But it says, but what come by land shall serve, if boys or girls until 30 years of age, if men or women 12 years and no longer. Okay, so if they're kids, they be a slave till they're 30. If they're a man or a woman, they do 12 years. 12 years a slave. Okay, so these are all in the decided, written. So it's all there. They don't teach us about this. They don't share this, but this is all this is everything. It's written in our textbooks. It's all there. Okay. So that's crazy. So how is it? That was a cough drop. So how is it that we were able to be captured by other tribes, made forever slaves if they bring us in a boat, or if they came by land, then we're 12 years a slave? But you understand that also, in time, they made laws where if you're not a Christian, you're forever a slave. So there was always a something that kept you in servitude, which is how you had that whole, the uprising thing. It was a never-ending cycle. Really, for truly, like I said, it was they had all these different mechanisms that most of the people were indentured, but there were, like it says, people that could be forever slaves by prisoners of war, and then they tried to dial it back from them just wanting to capture everybody, because the Indians were going at each other, I guess, and it was kind of crazy. And so they dialed it back, so like you just couldn't just bring a brother and just make him a slave. You had to bring him. If you brought him by foot, then it had to be like just 12 years. If they was a slave and it was by boat, then they were like, okay, you know, you got him. You can have him for life. All right. So all these things were different mechanisms they use. Let's see. Oh, good. You got a new one? Did you put one up? Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, I had a couple of questions on this one.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like you always say, we are our people.
Right.
You know, I think that's what we don't get about the reproduce. We're reproducing ourselves. You are your great grandmother, your great aunt, or somebody in your family who reproduce.
Right.
And you know, when you try to share this information with a lot of people, we seem to don't, and like you say, it's right in our faces, but we don't seem to get it. So I just wanted to share like this page right here. I mean, this is a lot of the stuff you guys about to pick up tonight. You're gonna be damn. This stuff is right in your face, and how we don't pick it up, I don't know.
Right.
So we got this one right here, the English Empire in America. Now, when you see how it says English, you see how some of the times the S will look like a F. There's a reason for that. So the reason the S is a F, because back in the days when they were writing, that was a soft S. That F made a soft S sound. But anyway, to get into that, because people always say, oh, man, they talking about the Indians over in India. No, they're not. They're calling the West Indies. They call this the West Indies over here.
Why? Because it's West.
It's West. and the names that they're talking about are the West Indies: Newfoundland, New England, New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Maryland, Virginia, Carolina, Bermudas, Anguilla, Dominique, Montserrat. That's the West Indies, y'all. This is the West. All over here is the West Indies. So for people who tell you, oh, Columbus got lost looking for India. No. And this is why I'm saying you can't let other people make up your life story or your history for you. This is why it's important, way important, for us to know who our people are and to know where we're from, and just not letting somebody tell you you was on a boat pissing and shitting over each other. This stuff is right in our face, y'all.
That's true. We have to start, thinking and looking, and then also doing, I mean, this is take action, to have it and not to use it is a horrible, wasteful thing. Like you can't waste this information. So here we are. Let's look at this. Let's look at what we're looking at in this document. Oh, where'd it go? Oh, it was there.
There it is.
I don't see it. Okay, cool. And I gotta get up close to it. See what you done did. Oh, I got it. Oh yeah, that's a good one. Scroll down. I think either something is missing because it's not showing it.
What?
It's not showing what you just had on the screen before. It's not there.
Oh, you want what I just had on the screen?
Yeah, because I never did get to talk about it.
Oh, okay.
The English Empire with the English.
Yeah, I got it.
So the English Empire is called the English. It's a book. It's entitled "The English Empire in America, or a View of the Dominions of the Crown of England and the West Indies." Now, there's an actual even more in-depth one that talks about the West Indies in its entirety. It describes what happened when the people came, blah, blah, blah. You got to understand, this one was written by Robert Burton. And I believe it's like, let me see.
The 1700.
1728, right. So with that being the case, it's a decent source. But, you also have to look at it with the side eye. You got to kind of also put in the context of what was happening in the world at that time. In the world at that time, that was pre-Civil War. So at this time, we were doing a lot. We were getting a lot. Our numbers were growing. We had a lot of wealthy people. They were getting annoyed because they weren't really doing as well as we were. Case in point is, on the Eastern Shore, they were collecting money to send us out of here. They were trying to deport us. By 1758, they had collected $1,500 to ship us on the hell out. They wanted us gone, okay? So just keep that in mind. Inside this book, it's written several things that are interesting. They talk about Jamestown, and it's described as having beautiful brick houses, okay? And next to Jamestown is Elizabethtown. They also described it having houses like that of Bermuda, okay? Understand that who were really the Masons? In 1666, their straw houses were burning down. Who really had brick houses first? Who were the Masons? Who knew how to make bricks out of clay better than anybody? Who made so many things out of clay? Pipes, everything, stoves. Anyway, just think about it. The county, okay, so what it says is the country is governed by laws agreeable to those of England. I'm going to say that again. The county, could you go to the next picture? The county is governed by laws agreeable. That's by that first big yellow dot. The country is governed by laws agreeable to those of England, which means they said our laws were cool. They liked it here, okay? It was agreeable. Those, and observing whereof those possessed by the English are divided into counties. It just names the counties. Caroluke, Charles, Gloucester, Hartford, Henrico, James, New Kent, Lancaster, Middlesex, Nazamon, Lower, Norfolk, Northampton, Northumberland, Rappahannock, Surrey, Warwick, Westoverland, Isles of Wight, and Turk. And each of these are held petty courts every month, from which there may be appeals to the quarter court at Jamestown. They have a flow of wild beasts as lions, bears, leopards, tigers, wolves, dogs like wolves, but bark not, buffalo, elk, whole flesh is as good as beef. Oh, elks whose flesh is as good as beef. Likewise, deer, hares, beavers, otters, foxes, polecats, weasels, muskrats, flying squirrels, etc. Cattle, cows, sheep, hogs, and horses is great plenty. Now, I will tell you, to this day, in Virginia, they try to act like they imported those horses. When we have wild ponies on the beaches of the Eastern Shore, just like they have some wild ponies in South Carolina, these are indigenous. They try to tell the same lie that some shipwreck with the horses on there, and the horses are there from a shipwreck ship. You mean tell me you're gonna pay all that money to bring some horses, and you're not gonna go collect your horses? The other thing about horses is that if they're domesticated, they're gonna come to you, and you're not gonna ship no wild horses. You're gonna ship domesticated horses. You're not gonna, So it doesn't. None of their lies make sense. Okay.
Especially when they say wild beasts, lions, bears, they're not going to attack the horses.
Right.
Huh? Yeah. Yeah.
So these are all the things they found being in Virginia at that time. These things were here. We had sheep, we had cattle, we had plenty of stuff. Okay. So, and as a matter of fact, there's actual court records where they said, don't bring no more horses into the county. Just don't bring them into this part of the country. Don't bring them from North Carolina. Don't bring any more. We got too many horses. Like, hold up. See, so it got to that level. All right. So that being the case, let's talk about the fact that these people, not only did we already have the laws set up that they liked, laws that they now act like they made up these laws. But then when you look in the court records, we're in the court records all the time. We're going to court all the time. From an early date, we are in the courts. Now, I'm not going to get deep into Anthony Johnson. But, Anthony Johnson, people like to say all kinds of things about him, but he had to be an Accomack Indian. He was in our Accomack land. He was in our courts. He was a Johnson. We had tons of Johnsons. He wasn't the only Johnson, and everybody wasn't his daggone child. There were bunches of cousins and kinfolk who were Johnsons, and they were all in and out of court, and sometimes they were suing each other. So when you see those court records, that is how you are able to battle these people who make up all these things about your kinfolk. You can't make up stories about my kinfolk. My kinfolk there were plenty of Johnsons there. And to the point that there were Johnsons suing Johnsons. To the point that there were Johnsons claiming to be Indian chief. To the point that they had to figure out whether Johnson was the Indian chief or that Johnson or another Johnson. Turned out to be Mary. That's how useful it is for you to know your homeland, get to know those records, those court records from your homeland, okay? Because it's going to talk about you. You're going to be in there. No. They didn't, you see, that's what you think. But see, no. The English names are not our names. And their name, they didn't give us any names. As a matter of fact, they stole our names. They stole our names. And it's very evident when you actually do research on your own family. You'll actually see things that'll prove it. Like things like this. When you go into your ancestry, let me see the last thing I looked at. Okay, let me do that. I was looking up one of the people that was asking me about being an Accomack, and I was searching a Smith. Yeah, recent searches. All right, let's go look at some. Maybe I can find a quick. Maybe I can see this. No, that's not it. I want a census record. Just one. Might be it. Might get lucky. Who knows? Just the right one. know if this is the one.
So what would you say?
Oh, okay. Let's check out this one. Okay, so like there are census records. Let's just kind of flip on this, where they just completely erase the race, right? Because they're trying to disguise that they are pretending to be you. But you see, people like Warris, whatever that person is, you believe you don't know anything. So I mean, basically, you don't know anything. You don't know that they will come. They will be in your senses, and they will actually take on your identity. And the evidence is like so strong between the erase races, that kind of thing. That's a very good indicator that some shenanigans are going on. Okay, like for instance, look at that. Now this whole row of race, they got one mulatto here, but everything is pretty much erased in a lot of these things. And the other thing is, with you these when you look at a census, you're looking at your street. You got to understand what a census is. It's like walking in your subdivision and going around your cul-de-sac. They're your neighbors. And what you have to understand is the people that you lived around were your kinfolk and friends. And what they've done with these records, specifically with my family, if they've done things like taking my, because a lot of the indigenous people were actually wealthy, well-to-do, and well-educated, they take them and have plenty land in their names. They take on their identities, erase the race or change it, alter it to white. Meanwhile, this weirdo is sitting in the middle of a community of all Black people, so-called Black indigenous people. Now, what are the odds that a physician is going to be a white physician is living dead in the middle of a Negro community? That's the kind of thing that is very obvious that they do when they falsify these records. See, you can't do enough to make the truth a lie. You can't do enough. You can't work hard enough to make the truth a lie. So when they alter these records, it's so obvious. It's so horribly, horribly, horribly obvious. It is sad, but they do it all the time. I have so many people that in my tree that have been falsified because, we had a lot of folks that are in that area, especially of Virginia, especially on the Eastern Shore. But it's all over the place. South Carolina has so many slave owners that were Indians. But everybody wants to act like they're from Africa. Shame on you. You're not even looking at what's right before your face. Why? Because you just want to drink the daggone Kool-Aid that they're handed down to you. You don't want to investigate. You don't want to research. You just want to just believe it and keep it moving. Whatever you're told. Meanwhile, you're being disinherited. But the worst thing is not you, because you're not very smart. So maybe you deserve it. But you know who doesn't deserve it? Those your great-grandchildren come behind you. They don't deserve your being an idiot. It's not fair to them that you're a daggone complete nincompoop. That's not fair. It's not fair.
So where were the African ships coming in at this time? Weren't they coming in up there in Virginia?
Yeah, no African ships. And then they have, and they know it. And actually, They were opposed to any Africans ever coming. They didn't need them. They had a whole court proceeding that said, why is somebody ordering any Africans? Why is that happening? We don't need any Africans. That is what is on record. You can't find anything about Africans in the court records except the proceedings that said we don't need it.
I know you got some info on the Moors in there in those court records.
Yeah. And you know what? That's really easy to do, because all you got to do, if you want to start looking for these things that everybody tells you about, but they don't have any kind of credible evidence about, is you just go over to the statutes, go to the laws, okay? You know, you don't got to argue with them. They want to bust out a dictionary like a daggone, like a baby. What is a dictionary, crazy person? That is the most nonsensical thing I ever heard of. You go into a dictionary to explain things. Dictionaries don't explain anything. That doesn't give you any credible information. What are you talking about? Go to the daggone law, okay? So you go into the statutes, you go into the daggone court records. So you go in there and you say, okay, am I a Moor? Let's see what they got to say about the Moor. Moors or Moor. What does it say, Moor? Let's go. They said mulatto. They don't have more. And there's only one result. Wow. One result, and it doesn't even say more. It says more mulatto. So no, y'all. There's nothing in court records about the Moors who they claim came here and was running everything and brought the civilization, and did everything here all over the place. See, you know, that kind of, you know that's not you, right? When you got this takeover spirit, that colonizing takeover spirit, that's not the Indian, okay? People that want to do that, you know they're not you. You know they're not you.
Can you imagine just how much we lost, period, by trying to be these other entities that, like somebody said earlier, the figment of somebody else's imagination?
Right. That's a waste of time. Let's go ahead and look at you want to look at
I like that map. I like that map.
Which one?
The one of Accomac.
Oh, well, bring it on then. I don't know really what I
All
gave
right.
it.
You gonna know this one. This a cold one. Here we go, right here. That one. Can you explain it? Can you explain it to us? In today's, contemporary, like where your people are compared to this map?
Well, our people are this entire peninsula plus all the way out past into Maryland, all the way across the water, and all in Hampton Roads where Hampton University is, and also Norfolk State, and also ODU, that university, Old Dominion. So all of that is Accomac country, okay? We are the across the water people, so we're on both sides of this bay, okay? And our people, if you look where you go above Cape Charles, like right around there, that's where they found a mastodon head. Mastodon being a dinosaur, looks like a giant elephant, right? And they found it with Clovis points all around it, and then they buried that information. They found it right there, right outside, right underneath Cape Charles over there, okay? And so we've been there for a very, very long time, doing our thing, for a very long time. And when these people came in, so-called colonized, so-called, tried to profit off of our, homeland, we were profiting way before they were, which is why we were some of the wealthiest people. And that's why we had a lot of terrorism that occurred throughout the years, because They were angry because no matter how hard they worked, they really couldn't profit the way we were profiting, you know. And so, they burn you out, they lynch you, even the government. Because before Tulsa happened, it happened on the Eastern Shore. Before Tulsa happened, it happened to us. And then the reason that you know about these things is because crazy people have the audacity to be proud of what they do. It's really crazy, but these crazy folk, they proud of being racist and evil and all the stuff that they do. They proud that they got body parts of your folk in their house and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So the information is out there. Somebody's just itching and twitching to share it with you. They are itching and twitching, honey, to share their dirty deeds. Okay. So
yeah, I like to answer Derek Cobb's question. He says, how can people enslave people inside of said people's economy? You ever heard of the sellout, the snitch, somebody who sides with an enemy to do you in? I mean, see, we had those same people today, man.
What is that? But what's the football player? What's his name? That got for the dog fighting?
Yeah, Michael Vick. Oh, that's around where he lived, huh?
He's a Virginia Indian. He got. I mean, he was supreme. He was supreme. He was a quarterback. He was doing everything better than they did it, and they hated him. Okay, so what did they couldn't find nothing to get him on? They're gonna get him on dog fighting. Okay, where every other house in those country woods got white and Mexican folks dog fighting every damn weekend. But they wanted to act like he was some kind of dog killer, murderer, like he was just choking up dogs, and throw his ass. Slavery happens now. What do you mean? Slavery happens today. Do you got that video that I showed you about them damn about what they doing in Louisiana? With the damn bullfighting.
Oh, I have to look for it.
Yeah, let me see. I think I can get it. But yeah, I mean, you don't understand what's going on with slavery. I mean, I guess I need to share this with you, because for you to even make a statement or question like that shows you're kind of out of touch with slavery. Slavery is going on right now, boo. It's happening now.
Derek,
people are enslaved now. Okay,
right now. You in slavery so deep now that your ancestors from the 1700s would be ashamed.
Yeah, it's horrific, yo. It's really bad. Like, we don't understand how bad. But that's how things are able to do things. Like in Mississippi, they're gonna go ahead and do Jim Crow laws. People in Georgia and Atlanta, we ain't thinking about that stuff. You know what I mean? You're not even thinking about it in Alabama. We ain't thinking about it in New Jersey. Nobody in Denver's thinking about it. Cali ain't thinking about it. They trying to get their money. See, I mean, even though we are connected as far as like we so-called have, this social media and information highway and stuff, we really don't. We really don't have a lot of sharing of information. Because if we did, we would be a lot more on top of some of these things that are happening right now. But we're not. We're easily distracted. We watch what we watch. If it's not on their feed, we don't know about it. If you're not into looking for certain things, you wouldn't have known anything about the truth about COVID. Because if you didn't actually dig or have strong misgivings yourself, then you would just be like everybody else and just be like, oh yeah, I better take the jab because that's what everybody's doing. Don't want to be left out. want to be part of the solution. I want to achieve herd. What is you let somebody call you a cow? It's like, what in the world? They let you call you a herd immunity. What the heck? Don't be talking to me like I'm a piece of cattle. But everybody allowed it, welcomed it, and wanted to jail up people who didn't comply. So you don't think that people can be put in jail? You're not getting that? That's not something you seem to see?
So Bolin Bilt says, if Israel or the Indian slavery is the result of repeated disobedience of law, and we had it coming, snitches and all, right? I don't know what Israel.
What is Israel?
I don't know what that has to do with Indian
How
slavery.
do you know who you are as far as Israel? You got that kind of genealogy going on.
I know that no, they don't, but that's what I mean, Bolin Bill. You see how we know everything about people thousands of miles away, but we don't know about nothing about our grandmama that lived down the street. That's the typical African American. That's about 90%. They know about people on the other side of the world, but can't tell you a damn thing about their great aunt.
Right.
How we look, you see how the world looks at us like, you're dumb. This is how they look at us. And we just la, 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 la. I can do whatever I want. And you never ask, why do they write about unicorns in Israel? Mythical animals. In these Bibles and all these stories we read, they talk about things that don't make no sense, that don't have nothing to do with the people here, yet we can tell you more about over there than over here. We look dumb, dude. I mean, and then we'll pass that same bullshit on to your kids and grandkids. That's where we are.
That's what we do.
That's what we do.
And we keep doing it over and over again.
Don't even stop and think about it. Don't even stop to question it. I'm a Hebrew Israelite. Explain how you're that.
How do you pass that on? Oh, yeah, you pass it on by your kids suffering under the same ignorance that you're suffering under. I get that. I get it.
That's where we are. What you call the African American, black, Negro, colored, more, whatever. This is how our lives are set up for us. We do what other people tell us to do.
That's what we want.
That's all we want, dude.
We just want to be doing what somebody else tells us to do and believe whatever we're told. That's what we want to do. But when are we going to start, thinking for ourselves and doing different things? We got to, for different results, you got to do different. You got to act differently. So anyway, okay, and going to your homeland, besides looking at the land and your family's land and your people and researching records and whatever else. And I will say a lot of things you may find in your local library from your own actual homeland, wherever that is, because a lot of times, a lot of local libraries will have information that's from way across the country. They may have Georgia information in New Jersey. They may have, Missouri stuff in daggone Alabama. They may have Arkansas stuff in South Carolina. So, I would definitely encourage you to go to your local library. But the good thing about going home, first of all, the least of it is reconnecting with your people and your land and everything, and the court documents and everything that are actually there. But the local bookstores have wonderful self-published authors who have written about your folk. Some of them will be you and your family that wrote about your family history. Some of them will be the Antichrist, such as this gentleman who wrote a book about when we had our what is it? What is it called? Oklahoma. We had our own Oklahoma version of the Tulsa, Oklahoma, but it was before Tulsa. It was in 1906, and it affected both Maryland and Virginia, and it did because it was riveting, and they even received government assistance in the demolition and the exile. And he even says they exiled people and they executed people. People were exiled and executed. And they built a gallows on the marsh, in the beautiful marshes. And he wrote a book, and he has pictures in this book. And I haven't shared that with you. Maybe I will. I have the book, the pictures of the guy in the casket, him hanging. They took every step by step of them hanging this brother. It was horrible. See, it's because we were winning. We were balling, you see. It's because we were being successful. We were conducting international trade with Canada and Cuba. And they hated us. So they had to murder us and run us off.
Do you guys see how much of the history we lose about ourselves when we hop over to these other ideologies and other beliefs that we have? These are the people that are closest to you. You could say you're from Greece, wherever. These people that you're being shown pictures of and what's being written about in these court records, these are the people closest to you. You jump right over them into some other foreign place that you never even heard of and start becoming that.
You rather, be some kind of ancient Mayan or ancient Egyptian or ancient Israelite or ancient whatever, more, anything except your own people. Anything except deep diving into really your more recent history of what your people really were doing. Like, what were they doing in the 1900s, 1800s, 1700s, and so forth? And, you don't have to go back and go find, Indian or, great ancestral patents, like, what I'm doing. But you could go back and reclaim land taken for taxes. But you can't reclaim nothing if you're not in your proper identity. You can't claim anything if you're not in your proper status and, identity. Because you got to come across these people and look at them in the eye without them being able to laugh in your face.
Ashgadi says the question is, why so weak and passive? You know what's weak and passive to me, Ashgadi? People who flee their homeland because they're too bitch to fix it. Those are the people who are weak and passive to me. People who flee their homeland, go to other people's homeland,
and try to be predators.
Right.
And take all the opportunity. You know what I saw online today? I saw a video and they were having a panel discussion about racism. And it was like, physicians, a couple of physicians, I guess healthcare leaders or whatever. And I guess, and they had this Southeast Asian guy, doctor, talk about, what's happened in healthcare. There's an absence. We get much better care when your own people are taking care of you. It's a much difference for the African Americans when their own doctors are there. And I was like, the audacity. He doesn't even know because he was so busy trying to take our place. He doesn't know that just freaking not even 10, 20 years ago, every major city had two Negro hospitals in them. At least two. DC, at least two. Atlanta, at least two. New York, at least two or more. They're going New Orleans, at least two, more than two. Just name a city. Alabama, Everybody had a Negro hospital, at least two, back in the 90s. But this daggone doctor, he doesn't know this. And the Negroes, they didn't know either. Nobody's chiming in with any intelligence, any sense of recent history. You don't know there were 200 hospitals in this country that was by us, for us at the turn of the century? You don't know all the freaking medicine and the cures and daggone treatments and daggone surgeries that we invented, blood transfusion. You don't know about Dr. Drew. You don't know about Dr. Rock. You don't know about that whore. What's her name? Nightingale is a whore. She's a liar and a fraud. Do you not know that she's in Europe and she learned everything from a daggone Jamaican? Mary Seacole cleaned everybody up and cleaned the situation up and saved people's lives. Not no damn Florence Nightingale. She didn't know shit. She wasn't even properly trained. Our daggone, at the same time, in our America, we got nurses that was becoming doctors at the same time as Florence Nightingale was writing a book trying to claim she did everything. If she even wrote the book. See, we don't even know what we've done. That daggone Southeast Asian dude sitting up there talking about, oh, well, that's what we needed. Do you understand that the only reason your ass is here, all these Southeast Asian and these daggone Africans are here to displace us? As soon as they daggone said, okay, y'all got civil rights, here's a little bit of affirmative action, they opened the floodgate of foreigners, of immigrants, so that they could take your seats. And you never got those seats. To the point that there's less of us in prominent positions, even in politics. They run in your states. They run in your country. And it just happened in the last 20 years. Under your watch. And people talking about they don't know it was slavery. You're not paying attention to a damn thing. Pay fuck attention. Excuse my French. Pay attention. This is happening now. And then we're so stupid, we have a whole generation and generations that think, wow, if we can do a lot of things, we're capable, we're this and that. No, we had everything. We lost it.
Gave it away.
We had it all. We were the hospitals. We had all these HBCUs. Now hardly any of our people are going to these HBCUs. They're all Ukrainians and Asians and Africans. They're not our kids. Our kids can't get into schools. We can't even afford them. We're not getting the daggone scholarship money or the grants. The foreigners are. We had everything. We had all these towns existed for a long time. Some of these, and we still have we still have indigenous run towns to this day, quiet as it's kept. But you in a place where you don't see it. And you want to run to Brazil or some other place and see some other culture. You don't want to learn about your own. You don't want to go to your homeland and learn about that and see what's going on there. And then you know that there were predominantly towns of you that are your relatives running it. That they're trying to figure out a way to get it from them. While you up here trying to think about being a Hebrew Israelite, you should be helping your kinfolk. Keep what they already got, but are fixing to lose. HBCUs, we are the Indians. HBCUs are Indian removal schools. It all follows suit.
Oh, I wanted to share something else you said. I found it very interesting. Maybe you can explain this to us. Intersectional indigenous identities. So check this out, y'all. This is what these people are doing now. See, these so-called Native Americans, they can't explain some things. That's why we say start opening your mouth and asking questions. These people, they can't answer some questions. So now they're trying to slide you in. Now it's called intersectional Native Americans.
What is that?
You sent me this.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
You saying what is it?
And see, this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to minimize what you are. They're trying to make you less than. They're trying to mix you in. Like, it's another way of saying tricolored.
Right.
Like, it's really like you're saying, oh, they're just mutts. Indigenous people are just mutts. Well, you can't be indigenous and be African, dum-dum. Africans don't come from here. So that is a whole misnomer. But they get paid. I even sent a message to that website. I said, who are you? Who paid for this website? Why does it exist?
Afro-Indigenous and Black Indigenous people. So I always ask this question and I never get an answer. When have you ever seen a Black person? This is how twisted we are. You're not Black, nowhere close to it. Yet you teach your children to call themselves that. Explain.
And that's what we're doing now. We're writing, we're making up things where we're back, right back in the middle again, where they're trying to say, and then we got friggin' a whole bunch of damn so-called Indians out there co-signing it. Oh, yeah, we're oh yeah, well, we can't be. Of course, we got African and we got this and I got that. Well, you got this. You got all of that mixed up in you. Okay, that's fine. But you're calling yourself Indian. I don't really understand that because you really aren't Indian. You're everything but. A very small part of you is Indian. The other stuff is more predominant, okay? Because you're two other fucking things, excuse me. So I'm like, that's ridiculous. It makes no sense. So this thing about people who call themselves Indian and then say, yeah, I'm African. Oh, yeah, I know I've got some this. Okay. But if you look at that person, you'll find out that they are really predominantly those other things. So why are you calling yourself Indian? That's fraud. And the other thing is, a lot of us are highly that. And we don't even know it. I mean, I know people that I just want to choke because they're sitting here in Georgia. They come from the same daggone area out beyond Conyers and Covington. And they are the same. They act like they're the same people. They are one people. They got the same ways. They own everything out there, but they don't know it. But they don't want to recognize who they are. They are very pure in their daggone identity. And there was a group of people that migrated from Georgia that I went to school with in New Jersey. And they all moved on the same street, New Street. And they all were cousins. Just like my family all moved from the same area in Virginia, the Accomax, and we all were cousins. We moved to the same town. We have very, very, very high bloodlines, very pure. We can say pure. Forget them. We can say it. I don't care. It's pure. We have a very pure bloodline. People say you should say that. Oh, don't say that. Why not? If it's true.
Because you got to lie.
We're not lying. Okay. So when you are that, and a lot of us are that, but we're not even working hard to do it. Now, I know a lot of people are frustrated because you got, your daddy came from one place, your mama came from one place, and you don't really have that, kind of like everybody's for one thing. And I understand that can be frustrating. But then, you're still, you still are that Indian, whether your daddy is a Muskogee Creek or the mama's a whatever else, you're still an indigenous person. You just need to connect with what you connect with the ancestors that want to be found, that want to be repatriated. Because the ones that don't want to going to make it difficult as I don't know what. But the ones that want to be found and want you to work to get what they've left for you, they're going to make it happen when you begin the process. They're going to make it happen.
So another thing I want to bring out in writings like this, and we have to remember this when we're reading stuff like this. So as a national organization, Native Americans in philanthropy represents a wide range of indigenous people. No, they don't. So remember, it's a national organization. They don't speak for you. I mean, they may speak for some of you. They don't speak for me. No national organization of people who call themselves Native Americans, because my people didn't call themselves Native Americans, and your people didn't either. And these are the type of terms we got to stop getting tripped up on and just say shit because it confuses everybody. Afro-Indigenous, what's that? That's a term that they came up with. If you take that term and wear it like a chain around your neck, that's you. They have both indigenous and African lineage. For real? This is how we're trained. This is how we're taught. We go learn this in school. We swear to God, we got an education. Black, like I said earlier, show me one person that's Black, I'll give you $20. You've never seen a Black person in your life, yet that's what you identify as. Explain that. I don't know. These people come up with all kind of words and terms for you, and you pick what they serve you, and you'll be that for your whole life.
Yes, they will.
So yeah, I just want to share that, how other people come up with names that like they're helping you. They're really not helping you at all.
Absolutely not. Okay, so I put in there Native, because we're talking about these people calling themselves Native. I put in the internet search based on the statutes at large, being a collection of all the laws of Virginia from the first session of legislature in the year 1619. And I typed in Native. And what did I get? 3 results. The first one being, whereas the want of able and faithful ministers in this country deprives us of these great blessings and mercies that always attend upon the service of God, which want by reason our great distance from our native country. Oh, their native country. Oh, that's not you. That's the European native country. That's how they use the word native. All right, what's the second way they use the word native? Okay. Negroes, Moors, mulattoes, or Indians in whose parentage and native country are not Christian at the time of their first purchase of such servant by some Christian. Well, that's the other way they use native. But they did have Moors in here, though. They didn't pick up on when I looked for it. All right. Native. Another one. And to the intent that the full and best use and benefit of such principal commodity, native commodities may come and redund native commodities. That's how they use native in the laws in this publication of the laws. So only 3 ways, and none of them apply to people. Okay, none of them. And what about, let's go look for Aboriginal. People say we shouldn't use the word Indian. That's the white man's terminology, and you know, I guess you don't live in. I guess they don't use, white folks' gas or go to white people's supermarkets, and
No,
I guess
they lie.
I guess they don't wear no clothes that's made by white folks. I guess what are they talking about when they talk about the terminology? The Indian is why do they get all freaking stuck in like that's not right on that, but everything else they're just drinking it down and consuming it in great numbers, and it doesn't come from them. They didn't make it. All right, let's see. Aboriginal. I don't think they driving their own cars around that they manufactured. I don't know. So there are 0 matches for Aboriginal in the statutes at large, being a collection of all the laws of Virginia from the first session of legislature in the year 1619. So somebody who wants you to call yourself Aboriginal, and Aboriginals, all the only term you'll use, and you're all you've got yourself all in a mindset where you don't want to even use the term Indian. That's what you're getting. 0, a big egg, a big old daggone giant dinosaur egg of a 0. You are not getting nothing. Okay, you have no data to support anything. You have no laws and statutes to go back on. You can't do anything with that. Aboriginal. You say 0 results. Can everybody see that? 0. These are people that talk about they want to be the law and come bring the smoke and blah, blah, blah. Okay. Can we stop being ridiculous and start being sensible and smart? We're looking at the statutes at large, a collection of laws. There is 0 when I do a search for Aboriginal.
And
0.
we'll just keep on repeating it over and over, and there's no word.
These same people want you to not use the term Indian. That's where the problem lies. Nobody's not saying it's not another term for indigenous, but when you use that term as a in the whole vein of there, don't use nothing. Don't you say Indian, blah blah. When you make it a all or nothing situation, you're messing up the minds of the young people. You're misdirecting and misteaching. That's the problem, Kenny D. That's the problem with Aboriginal, being so gung-ho on Aboriginal, when you're misleading people to thinking that saying Indian is wrong. It's a lie. And there's too much power and rights and law to stand on being Indian that they are going to miss out on. Because you know why? There's a whole group of young people who now, because they're in that whole hoopla Aboriginal camp, have an aversion to the Indian term. At the same time, you got these people saying, what are they saying? Afro, indigenous, whatever, making up new tricolored daggone terminology. We got all the kids in the future getting screwed over again by us on purpose. We have to stop doing that. And what we don't realize is that some of these people who do this without a conscience are really being paid for it. And I know y'all don't want to think that they're getting a check.
They are.
To push these agendas.
They are.
They are. They are. It just didn't happen. Y'all, I was just watching Watergate stuff. I spent a whole freaking day, not day, but I spent a whole last evening watching Watergate stuff. And I was like, man, they had ideas to do some really messed up. Not just going in and planting stuff and setting people up with hoes and going to people's houses, tapping, bugging, setting people up, putting people in place, all these people being you got all these fake people coming at you, trying to represent themselves as something that they're not. They do that. Why do you think it's not going on now? When people are waking up to the truth, you don't think they don't have fake people out there that's winning on the internet and getting all these people to come into their daggone rooms and listen to them, confuse them, and misdirect them into dead walls, to dead ends? The greatest power you can have is being a repatriated, true American Indian. The greatest. You will not get anything from anything else.
Can I share another one?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, because you sent some Bombay today. So check this out, y'all. And this is what I'm saying. This stuff is right in front of our face. We just don't particularly look for it. Check this out. This book is 1805. If you can see down here, the history of Virginia and the first settlement. So this is the name of the book. It was written in 1805. And they're describing the Indians. Check this out. And think of what we waste when we keep going with the ladder. The dress, arms, and complexion of the natives became new sources of wonder. Their skin was of a copper color, and the character of their face was fierce and barbarous. But their long black hair and the admirable proportion of their bodies were proof of a radical difference between them and the inhabitants of Africa. Do I have to read that again for the people? We all come from Africa. That's the motherland. It's right in our face, y'all. They tell us a story and we swallow every drop. They appear to be a new species, equally removed from the men of Europe, Asia, and Africa. Somebody, please, on this chat, explain this to us how we're African again.
Right.
Explain it.
He said that really clear. And understand what makes it even more riveting is the fact that it wasn't done in 1620 or 1612. It was done in 1805 or whatever. So, I mean, seriously, that's after they been around us for a while. They know how we are. They've attempted to remove us. We've been through a revolutionary war. I mean, they know. This is a truth being told when the lies are starting to seep, the need to lie is very apparent. So this is a truth told during a time when the need to lie is very strongly apparent. So the fact that they're telling you something this riveting at this time in history is, you need to take that real strongly. You need to really let that rest with you deep inside. Oh, the name of the book. Oh, yeah. Could you get that back on the screen?
I'm just gonna get the name. Give you the name of the book, 1805, because I gotta this computer's because I got so many pages open because I got a whole bunch of stuff to share.
Yeah, let me go ahead and I can find it too.
It's right there. You can find it.
Yeah.
This was another thing you sent. I want to share this real quick so we can move on from this. This was a nice piece too, and we'll get the name Brown Feather. We'll get it.
Oh, it's by Burke. Okay, so this is I got you. It's by John Burke, Burk. It is The History of Virginia from its first settlement to the present day. And I will put that in the chat, actually.
And to go to
but Brown Feather, Burke does tell some lies. Now I'm gonna let you know. A lot of Europeans, when they write books about us, they use Burke as a reference. He has some good stuff, but he also tells some lies in there. Just want to let you know. You don't ride hard with him. Just ride easy.
Okay, and this is answering JJ's question. Not many people are reading books from 1805. Not many people reading books in 2023. We really don't do that, cuz if you really think about it, most of us, we don't do that.
I tend to not trust books written after 1800, especially after 1820. I don't tend to believe them. I really, pretty much I squint and just barely even look at books that are, beyond that time.
Okay, this minutes of the council, was there something you wanted to look at on there?
Oh yeah, I did. That took some of my life away trying to find that book. I tore up all my books trying to find that thing. Yeah.
Or was it a certain page or something? Because it's 624 of them.
Oh no, that's just the minute. That's the whole minute. No, you don't need to do that.
Okay, so we don't need this one.
I mean, we can.
I mean, was there a specific place you wanted me to go in?
No, let's just slide by that there. Some other day we might do that. We might just read some accounts in that. And that we don't need that.
Okay, so let me just go anywhere in it.
No, you don't have to. You can go on to the next email.
Okay. Oh yeah, this is a good one. Say sorry, y'all. My computer's going slow because I got so much stuff open in it, but it's going a little faster as I'm starting to shut some stuff down.
Down.
But it's so much good information, and
That's a lot.
That's
a lot. I know, y'all. Thank you for your patience. It's appreciated.
Okay, Lisa, this one is
okay.
Slaves and servant Negroes.
Right, and that. Let me get it open for myself so I can see it. Got it. Okay. All right. So, in looking at that, and this talks about their servants, they can distinguish by the names of slaves for life and servants for a time. Slaves are the Negroes. They're in their posterity following the condition of the mother, according to the maxim partis secure eventum. They are called slaves in respect of the time of their servitude, because it is for life. Servants are those which serve only for a few years, according to the time of their indenture or custom of the country. The custom of the country takes place upon such as to have that if such indentures be under 19 years of age, they must be brought into court. And this is where we learn something. They must be brought into court to have their age judged. If anybody does any genealogy, you're going to see documents that say they were brought into court to have their age adjudged. Why would they do that? I know that some of you've asked yourself, why are they having their age adjudged? They have their age adjudged because from the age they are adjudged to be, that's how much time they're going to serve. So if they're an adult, they may do 12 years, but if they are a child, they will be indentured to the age of 30. And from the age they are adjudged to be, they must serve until they reach the age 4 and 20. But if they're under 19, but they be adjudged upwards of 19, they then only to be servants for a term of 5 years. So you see, that's different than what we read before, where they had like if they were an adult, they went to they did 12 years solid. If they was a young person, they were indentured till the age of 30. See, they hiked it up. They hiked it up. This is higher. This is less than what we read earlier. Dan Calloway learned from Carrie Davis. Kiriyama is a foreigner. We don't know what Kiriyama is. We don't know what he is.
And you see, this is how we always get caught up.
I mean, they put information out, but they have a whole team. Kiriyama is not doing. He's not. His videos are not even the same as what he used to do. I mean, he just used to read it, whatever. They have whole teams. They have crews. They are subsidized. Like it if you want to, it's fine. But they're never going to tell you anything that's going to give you remedy, because that's not what they're really trying to do. That's not what they're being paid to do. Anyway. But yeah, Dan Calloway learned from the African Americans Ain't African, from Carrie Davis's group on Facebook. That's where he learned. He was a Pan-African or whatever the heck he was doing. Hebrew, Israelite, I don't know, whatever. But no. See, you got to understand, when people want to be a star and then they find an avenue to become a star, they're gonna hit it with all they got. And then people see that you have the you're an influencer. That's when the feds will approach you. You have influence. The feds are going to approach the people who have influencers. He and his sister were wannabe rappers from long way back. They've been wanting to be in servitude to this daggone matrix. I mean, you just got to understand who people are. I don't want to get into people. I'm not getting into those stories. But anyway, you got to understand people. Yeah, but you know what? Discernment is an important thing, and I'm not really even sure he provides a lot of sources. He puts out information, but he doesn't do a lot of source work. Now, Kiriyama may have, he has sources, but they not so much. But anyway, but whatever the thing. I mean, this is the thing. I mean, my whole thing is I ain't got time to watch a lot of people, because I got to research for my own people. So if you're doing that, if you're researching for your own people, you're not going to have time to watch people and what they're doing, because they're not even telling you about their own history anyway. Is Dan okay? Are they really actually telling you about their own history? No, they're talking about other people. So what's that about? That's not giving you really any true direction.
JJ, what you got to understand, really, Negroes, African Americans, Black, we really don't do that. We don't do that. We just take. We just do what our masters have taught us to do. You got all these people walking around wearing feathers, acting like Indians. You mean those people, we can't pull ourselves together and do nothing? Huh? I mean, seriously, in 15 years, I don't watch this thing go from 0 to 200. But everybody's trying to be their own thing. Nobody's connected to the land. Everybody's still licking bosses' nuts, because that's what Negroes do, and proud of it. You know what? This is what I mean. Check this out. And you guys might think I'm being an asshole about this, but I'm really not.
Uh-oh.
You know how many football leagues they have after college?
How many?
About 4 football leagues. Guess how many African Americans own?
How many?
None. All this
Semi-pro, no pro, none of them.
Oh, these are pro. These were paid professional ball players. They're getting paid.
Oh, okay.
With all these brothers and sisters around here who doing it, who making it big, who balling, we ain't got nothing. But yet we sit and yap like they're the greatest. The ass whooping you gonna get from your ancestors from doing that, you're not gonna like it.
Because we become just a bunch of consumers. We're like we're a bunch of damn cattle. We just eating the cud, eating the daggone, eating the feed. We're not producing, and we're not inventing. This daggone integration, this desegregation has been the worst for us. It's made us so complacent. It's made us so disconnected from each other and disrespectful towards each other. I mean, when we had our communities, our towns, we might not like each other, but we have to get along with each other. You made the fly shoes. You were the cool shoemaker. I got to get along with you because I like your fly shoes. I may not like you. But now we want to give all our money to Nike and all these other daggone people who don't give a doggone about us. We want to throw all our coins over to something that means nothing and will bring nothing back into our daggone environment. That's good. See, Mr. Shoeman might be like, he might like the kids. He might be like, you know what? I'm going to open a bowling alley and make all the bowling shoes and, give y'all another place to go. See? That's what we could build as a community. That's how we used to do things as a community. Some people wanted to make music. We go listen to the music. Nobody, then people want to come and copy. They want to record it, right? They want to capture. I mean, we was never people. We made our music to make our music. We didn't record it. They want to record it because they couldn't do it. They want to copy you because they can't be you. Now everybody's depending on being a recording artist. We can't be artists. Now we have it so you can be an artist and you can put your own stuff out, but still people want to be owned by somebody. You say there's no slavery? Ask Prince about that. Ask all these rappers that keep dying. There's no slavery? Ask all these people on television if they don't say the right thing. See how quick they disappear. If they don't step and fetch it. People are all slaves. We have to be together. And we also have to be what we lost too, and that's just be humble. Everybody ain't got to be chief. Even the chief ain't got to be the chief all the time. You got to stand down. If somebody knows how to do it better, you got to know how to take your seat in the corner. I mean, you know what I mean? You gotta know, I'd be like, yeah, okay, cool. Hands up, like no foul, hands out, hands in the air, ain't touching nothing. You can get everything. Go do what you do, You gotta know how to do that. That's See, people think the power is being the boss. The power is being the boss that knows how not to be a boss. How to sit down and let somebody else take over what they do best. How to recognize the greatness in others and let them be that. And be thankful for it. Oh, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
all right, so y'all, that's fly, right? Talk
yeah,
about it.
this is my favorite one right here.
Yeah. Get that up. Yeah.
Okay, so what I picked up in this, and remember, look at how things are written. Negro woman made free. This is where we were saying that a lot of people were suing people back in the day. But check out, and this is what I mean when we call ourselves all these other names: Hebrew Israelite, Nemetinu in Indian, Neptune. These cats that they named, that they had their names. They weren't called all these names that we use now, Aboriginal, just confusing everything. And some of these names you see on here, these are some of the names of the people in your family. If you go back and look through your genealogy, but we don't do that. We jump right over this directly into Africa. Why other people come and claim these names and these people? Ain't that how we do it?
And they be having the most raggediest genealogy, the fakest looking stuff. Sad. It's ridiculous. They just fake it. They fake being you. And you sit up there trying to be a daggone Egyptian. You trying to go daggone be in Kemet or somewhere. You trying to act like Egypt is, everything is here. If you can't be there, you want to daggone transport everything to over here. Let me tell you something. We got enough to be proud of. If you just go tip back, you ain't got to go past 1900. There's probably more in your family that you could be proud of than you ever imagined. But you don't know those people. Because guess what? It's a lot of people. It's more than what you know. You got to do the research. And you'll be like, wow, people was doing cool stuff. What's going on? I mean, and truth be told, a lot of your family members are doing cool stuff now. Because guess what? The other part you don't know. You don't know all who you're related to. So you know your mom, your dad. You might know your first cousins, maybe a few of your second cousins. But you don't know those extended family members who are your kinfolk, part of your tribal people. You don't know them. And they're doing some real amazing things. Those people are skyrocketing through the air, literally. Like I've talked to people that they are just like so gifted, so talented, so wealthy from their talents, doing all kinds of amazing things, living their best damn life in their academics. Didn't know they existed. And I wouldn't know they existed if I had not went and done the whole pain in the butt of repatriating our people. Okay, so this thing, what you got here? What are you looking at? What are we looking at?
So I'm just looking at all of the, I guess these are cases. So you see where it says Negro serving case against a white man, 354, Negro overseer, Negro exempted from paying levies.
Didn't have to pay the levies, no taxes.
Promised freedom by master, declared free. Witness,
This is early on, y'all. We're talking about like 1600 stuff.
Yeah.
We're talking like 1600 stuff. And there's not that many listed as Negroes. Why? Because
they're Indians.
Because we're Indians. Not that many even got changed to Negro in their terminology, which would mean like enslaved or formerly enslaved or whatever.
Indians all down the lane, all down the
Indian.
list.
A Negro is just an enslaved Indian. That's all, or formerly enslaved Indian. That's all that is. And it's just, and it depends on when you're looking at it in time. Okay. What, how the terminology is being utilized. So you also have to be appropriate to the time frame. And this is an early time frame. Okay. So understand that too. What I'm saying it means now is going to change. It's not the same in the 1900s or the late 1800s or the 1850s. It's going to change. Okay, but they're still just the Indians. That's not going to change. Okay,
they're all, and why are these people in the court? How they know about laws and reading laws and all this stuff if it wasn't their laws?
We already talked about the fact that they found our laws to be quite agreeable to the English. So our laws were already here. That's why these people were well versed. You don't get on a freaking banana boat from Africa, come over here, don't know the language. They never speak of African interpreters. Let's also keep that in mind when African people want to tell you you're from Africa. Where are the African interpreters? Hello? I don't see any records that speak of anybody being well versed in whatever language they were speaking in Ghana. In the Ivory Coast, I don't know. But I never heard about any African interpreters. You see a hellified information about Indian interpreters, though, in records. But I'd be doggone if y'all could find me an African interpreter. Ask your Pan-African friend to find one. I dare them.
So let me ask this. Spartan Existence asks, what is the most compelling piece of evidence that African Americans ain't Africans? I mean, we just laid out a bunch of them, but I'll just give you one. Where are all the ships? Explain how ships cross the Atlantic during hurricane season. Where did they build the ships? I mean, there's all kind of questions you have to ask, but the Negro doesn't ask anything. He just does what he's told.
And the other thing, the lie that's real big is that you couldn't really navigate a sailboat across the Atlantic. You would have to have people rowing at the bottom of the ship. Okay, that's how they powered them things. Them things couldn't make it through nothing. They couldn't get nowhere with just wind. Okay, wind dependent.
Be all over the place.
They have to have rowers. So you would have to have a whole bunch of slaves, workers at the bottom rowing. How are you going to have rowers and cargo that is human at the same time? What fucking kind of boat would that be? That doesn't exist. That ain't in their pictures. In their pictures of the slave boats, they just got all these heavy bodies. And you going to tell me the sails are going to carry those heavy bodies all the way across with precision? Really? No, sir. That makes no damn sense. The other thing is, where are all the damn chains? Chains are made of iron. Where is the iron? Iron does not dissipate. If there were people carried all the way up into the mountains of daggone Virginia and on mountains of daggone Kentucky and all these mountains, where are all the chains? And that's what when I go up there and I see all these indigenous people, I'm like, y'all always been up here? Oh yeah, always. Your mama, your great grandma, great all of y'all, yeah, y'all Indians, right? Yeah, we Indians. I said, yeah. I said, y'all got stories of being drug up the mountain in chains? No. I mean, it must have been a harrowing thing to go across the seas and then have you people drag you up a mountain in chains. How I would think that would be in somebody's family story. Then when I was growing up, when the first time I seen them out, No, that's a nobody's daggone family stories of no kind. There are no stories of people being carried up mountains in chains. And when people farm, they don't find no chains. They don't find no shackles. Ask a farmer. I said, what do you find? You plow these fields. You know, what do you find? You find any chains? I find horseshoes. That's what he told me. That's what they tell me. I find a whole lot of arrowheads. I said, well, you know, sir, I'm talking to a farmers now. I said, well, sir, you know how archaeology goes? The most current history is on the surface. So if you're finding the arrowheads and no chains, that's the most recent thing that was happening. People were shooting arrows.
See, Spartan, we don't really think. We just do what we're told. Not all of us, most of us. If somebody tells you something happened in 1900, you don't check it out. You believe what they say, and you will defend what they say. That's what an African American is. He doesn't think for himself.
Spartan is a white person. 1619 is a lie. 1619 is a communication from John Rolfe that simply stated there's some hay over here. There's a barrel of rum on the boat and 20-odd Negras. Negras being Christianized, Catholic baptized Negroes or enslaved Indians. Okay, they were not from Africa. The Angola thing is a whole new twist. They just added on there for good measure. Okay, because why? These mother suckers lie. They lie to steal. That's what they do. They lie to steal the country. The country belongs to the indigenous people, and they're still here. And these mother suckers will do anything to keep it. That's why they hate us. That's why they rather bring in any chocolate, cocoa, brown, any copper, what other color brown they will bring in this country and treat them better. But they'll dog us out and they won't give us the same opportunities because we are the landlords. And they're trying to kill the Indians off.
Were Moors and Sephardic Jews doing business here prior to 1492?
Well, you saw me Google Moor. I mean, I don't know if you saw me look in the laws. Moor is not something that is even in our laws or in our records, okay? So this whole thing with people being fixated with the Moors, they're not in the history, boo. They're just not there. They're not a part of American, Indian, indigenous history. They're not here. That you want to know what the Moors are? The Moors led their other Moorish, Columbus and them to Europe, to the Americas. That's the end of the Moors. That's the beginning of the end. They didn't have any use for the Moors. Everywhere they go, they cast off. There's two results in here for Moors because I put in Moor before. Moors, let's see what the first one. Well, they said either by land or sea, Negroes, Moors, mulattoes, Indians. See, they're not the same thing. Whose parentage and native country are not Christian. That's the one citation for the Moor. The second citation is all servants except for Moors, while in anonymity with the King of England, whether Negro, Moor, mulattoes, or Indians, being Christians, when purchased afterwards converted and brought in by sea or land to be slaves. Those are the only citation for Moors. That's it. That's it. Jews were Dutch. The Dutch were Jews. The Dutch trading company were Jews. So Jews, whether they're Sephardic, whatever, the Dutch trading company were Jews. But I don't even know why you care about that unless you happen to be a Jew or more. But why is that a concern of yours? I don't even know. But, we're talking about Indians.
Hey, JJ, what you might want to do, and I tell you what,
Moor is not just a term for being dark skinned, because you saw in what I just read that they differentiated it. It is differentiated. They are not. Sometimes it's used for being dark skinned, but mostly they actually were, on the Iberian Peninsula. Like it's a bunch of pirates. They're pirates. Moors are pirates, pretty much. You know what I mean? They talk about takeover spirit. That's what they do. They go in places and they try to take it over. Then they get kicked out. They go someplace else. They try to take it over. They get kicked out. That's the way Moors move. Okay.
But JJ, this is something you might want to try out, dude. Find out what your people call themselves. You won't even use the term Moor again. Find out where your people are from. Find out where they, where did they live? What river, lake, or mountain did they live by? Find that out about yourself. You won't give a shit about nothing else.
What plants did they use? What did they drink? What kind of stuff did they drink? We have a lot of walnuts. We used to make walnut milk. So what is what's where you live? What did you make? What did you do? It's gonna be different from what grows and where other people are from and what they use and what they eat. You know what I mean? We got special dishes that we do because of what's plentiful by us. So I mean, everybody being fixated with these, with all these divisional terms and entities. That's a plot. That's how you are enslaved. You're enslaved by being in these daggone churches, these daggone social groups, these daggone fraternities, sorority stuff, these daggone Masonic, these temples, these daggone lodges. These things are just to divide you up from your family, because the focus should be your people. And when people aren't family, weird stuff happens. You get all these people that got all these different predatory ways. They are in the mix with you that shouldn't be, right? Because when it's really your people, even though you might not be the nicest people, you will deal with each other better. You will really, bottom line, you actually will deal with each other better. Look, believe it or not. All right. So we were looking at the Negroes here paying, being exempt from paying. How you going to be exempt from paying levies in the 1600s? You exempt. Okay, brother, you exempt. Cool. I mean, we were copacetic. We got it worse now than we've had it ever. Okay. I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go into the meat and potatoes of the what happened to the Negro that had a case against a white man. So we can let the indigenous one go on to sleep.
Which one is that?
It should be right in that same email.
Okay. Oh.
Cool.
Is it one of those?
Yeah, blow it up. Blow it up.
Which one, the top or the bottom?
It's right in the middle, right above that line.
Okay. I'll blow it up some more.
Can you get one more?
Which one? More versus light?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So as y'all see, we're gonna end this thing soon. That Moore, in this case, Andrew Moore, a servant Negro to Mr. George Light. Notice they don't have the same name. Okay. Notice you would be an idiot if you gave your name to your slaves, because that would mean they could claim your land. They could claim rights to your property, because they could be claimed to be your family. So this did not happen. Okay, so y'all did sit up there thinking, oh, well, these are slave names. You go around changing your name to something dumb. you are you are daggone disconnecting yourself from your real heritage and your real daggone kinfolk, because we had our own names, okay? Who cares about the first Moor coming to America? Who really cares? And why do you know that? And why would you even care about that? It's like, what difference does it make? We know, and it had to happen before 1562. Why? Because the Moors are the ones that showed that Cristoforo, Columbus, how to get here. I mean, so the Moors were involved with the betrayal of the indigenous people from the beginning.
And for some reason, we love them.
No, you know, the feds want you to love them. And you know what we do? We do whatever the feds feed us. If they put drugs in our neighborhood, we suck it up and we sell it up. If they want us to be Muslims, we all praise Muhammad. If they want us to be damn Hebrew Israelites, we suck it down. These are all federally motivated organizations. These organizations are put out there, and you're so ridiculously silly that you fall for it every time. The feds support this. These daggone European, the same people that did the whole back to Africa stuff. These are the same people supporting all these organizations that you're being derailed into. It's all about destroying the Indian, but y'all don't want to even see that. The feds pay for these organizations. Do you really think that these Moorish temples and shit are just started by a bunch of brothers that are just getting that together? No. They are being seeded by the damn supremacists. I don't even like to use that term. What is it? What is the other term that they talk about these people being anyway, they're just Indian killers. And so that's what they are. And so basically they're out to destroy you. What is the Spartan making? They're just trying to be distracting. Why don't you go read something and stop asking things that are not related to the conversation? Spartan experience. Anyway, so what happened was, so his name was George Light was the white master, so-called. Doth in court make appearance by several others that come into this county, but for 5 years. It is therefore ordered that the said Moor be free from his said master, and that said Mr. Light pay him corn and clothes according to the custom of the country, and flour, 100 pounds, tobacco, and cash for his service done him since he was free, and pay costs. So the Negro won.
And this is 1600s.
That's 1673.
But you a slave.
And why would they bring an African all the way from Africa to be a servant to be free in 5 years? You can't even learn the language right and learn how they're going to do anything worth the doggone in 5 years. Nobody would bring a temporary servant that wouldn't even survive the trip, that'd be so sick they'd have to nurse him back from the dead if he even made it. And then they wouldn't know how to speak the language. They don't have no African interpreters because that ain't recorded nowhere. So how are you going to get an African to be able to learn how to do something worth the darn and cut crops? They're unfamiliar with the soil, the crops, the temperature, the climate, the animals, everything. How is that cost effective? That's bad business. How you gonna get him out of here? How you gonna call me disrespectful? You're rude and you're ignorant. Leave me alone. So basically, this shows you he's a Negro. In 1673, he's free and he's paid. So tell me the truth about what happened in America when this is in your court records. Tell me. Try to get that through your mind that this man is a Negro in 1673. He can't be from Africa and be freed and paid from only working 5 years with his white master. Shoot. The time it took him to come here and get to daggone work and get well and get to work and not know how to work and not know how to speak and not know how to do anything, that 5 years, he wouldn't have been able to do anything. That makes no sense. That alone is evidence that you didn't have no African Negroes. The Negroes are Indians. The Negroes are Indian servants. Negroes are Indians in servitude. That's why the ship had 20-odd Negroes. They don't know how to plow our land or grow our food. They don't even want to.
So, and this is what I mean when we go ahead and twist up, we twist up our youth. So you see the cat Spartan existence. You see what he knows. You just can't put Mound Builder in the search engine and come up with it. You see when we teach our kids all this dumb shit, this is what we get.
He's just disrespectful, man.
This is what we don't know.
You don't know who you're even talking to. Like, you're just really ridiculous. Like, if you knew us, you know that we've been to the mounds here in Georgia as a group several times. Like, we go there all the time. We've been to different mounds. We have mounds, small mounds, even Virginia. A lot of our bigger mounds were knocked down. We're not in here talking just to freaking talk. Stop it. We're real people doing real shit. Stop playing games. Go somewhere and make a difference and be something that counts and do something that's nice, okay? Because you're not doing anything but being a nuisance. And that's really annoying.
And so also, too, you might want to change your name. You know who the Spartans were.
Really, that's really just gross.
See, you're acting like a disembodied spirit. You're calling yourself a Spartan. Spartans are not you. Your people didn't call themselves Spartans.
Maybe he's a white dude. He might be a Spartan.
Nah, he would be at home fighting for his homeland now.
No, they're not. Because, see, most of these daggone Europeans and half of these daggone immigrants that come here left diddly. They are, like you said, they flee. They don't fight. They flee their homeland and then they want to take over somebody else's. They got that takeover spirit.
Right.
They got that predatory spirit. They're not going to stay and try to fight. See, Europe, they were ran out of their houses. They were ran out of their land. And so they don't have nothing to go back to. They don't have no folk. They don't have nothing. Okay. That's why they're so desperate to kill us off and keep what's ours. Because they don't have an existence outside of what they stole. Anyway, so I think we really, I don't know, I think we hit upon a lot of the things I wanted to hit upon, and it's late. You got to get your sleep. So, yeah, I think he's a foreigner. He's just, he's probably one of those Native Americans, trying to be like, trying to see. But you don't have these records. See, Native Americans don't have these records. Why? Because they were out here killing buffalo. I don't know what they were doing, running around. I don't know what they were doing, but they weren't in the courts like we were. They didn't have towns that existed like we did. They didn't have the law system that we had. So they don't have records of having won court cases in 1673. They don't have their whole nation being listed in court cases in the 1640s. They don't have that kind of stuff.
They weren't even in existence then. They weren't even talked about. They weren't even thought up then.
He's indigenous on his father's side. What does that mean? You know, that means mama's baby, daddy's maybe. You don't know if that's your daddy. Come on, man. Can't go by that. That's not even indigenous. Indigenous people don't even go by that. Why are you calling yourself a Spartan? You're confused. See, we need to be more aware of the things that these names that we take on. You're disrespecting your identity. You know, and people just do that willingly. We take on these identities and we idolize things that we shouldn't idolize. In the meantime, you got real things in your family stories that you should really be like, wow. You should be honoring that. Acknowledging it is honoring it. But if you're not even acknowledging or looking to understand yourself, then that is an awful disgrace.
Spartan existence, you're saying, please be respectful. Your great grandmother's from the islands, yet you don't call yourself her.
You're being disrespectful to your own people.
I mean, dude, really? So, brother, we help with that. Go to AA. You get hooked up, brother. You would drop all that. No, man, we not brutal, but dude, for people just being dumb, just to be dumb, we don't do that. That dumb shit's over. At least here. I mean, y'all can do it over there at Ruthless Records and all that. Just being dumb, not knowing nothing. We can't let these youth go out like that, man.
We can't let them do that. You can't sit up there and say you're a Spartan and you don't understand what you're doing. You don't understand. And especially now, let me tell you something right now, that you never have been as close to the ancestors, have never been as close to us at this time than they ever have been in history. I promise you that spiritually, physically, energy-wise, we are closer to our ancestors now than we have ever been. They are really, really, really active. So for you not to have yourself in line with who you really are and using daggone monikers and names and titles that don't belong and claiming, well, maybe you are a Spartan. I don't know your life. You might actually be a Spartan. But if you're not, it is disrespectful to yourself and to your people. And you can't do better until you know better. And if I don't tell you, then I'm wrong. So I need to tell you the truth rather than ignore it and not say it. You're the one who walked in here. You didn't know what you was walking into, making all these comments. So you got to get what you get. You know what I'm saying? And what you're going to get out of us is the truth. We're not trying to be rude. We're trying to tell you the truth. And sometimes the truth ain't pretty. Often it's not. But the truth will set you free. And at that note, everyone in the chat, have a good one. If you have any questions about genealogy, next week we'll be hitting the hard, trying to look at some genealogy. We'll talk more about the fact that they take our identity. I'll have some examples for you so you can kind of look at that and find out, hey, are you the real Indian here? Or are you the real person? Or is somebody else taking on your identity? Because sometimes you'll forego looking at a certain person's identity because you believe it. You think that the white folks are the person. And it ain't you. Meanwhile, they done stolen your daggone ancestors. So let's see what we can do about fixing some of those situations. So if you come in next week with some questions that we can work on, let's hit that genealogy real hard next week, okay? Come in ready for questions. You got friends that got questions. Let's work on your genealogy. Let's get some work done. Let's get you closer to knowing the Indians that you are. Okay? You want solutions? Let's get them. Have a good night.
So, and keep this in mind too. Lisa said earlier that you are your parents, your ancestors. Remember, it's reproduction. We're reproducing. She talks about repatriating a lot of time. That has something to do with it. Connect with yourself, your people, this land. You came to this part of the world for a reason. Everybody come to the earth for a reason. Why does everybody want to be where your people are from? You have to ask that question. But we so fascinated with the Hoteps and the Hebrews, we jump right over our people's head. So if you want to get more information, contact us. We'd love to help you. Because listen, we're tired of seeing the confusion go around, especially with these civil rights activists. And ask yourself, what has been our situation ever since we wanted to integrate? How has that worked out? We have to ask these questions and come up with some intelligent answers. So listen, make it on over to AA. Support us over there. We have books over there. We have classes. Man, we can get you right to where your people are. Because remember, the rivers and streams you see, that's what the streets and the avenues are made after now. You set that up. You set that off. So get into your people, find out who they are, ask questions, where they live, what did they do? Like Lisa was saying earlier, they was making walnut milk 300 years ago. These are the things we got to know. So look, thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight. Hopefully we'll see you next week. You guys have a good night and a good weekend. Oh, and remember, is this the last time of daylight saving time? Isn't that coming?
I don't know. I don't know.
But anyway, you guys enjoy the weekend. And remember, everybody has a little light under the sun. Have a good night, y'all. Peace.